If you're running enterprise cloud environments today, you know the core conflict. It's not really about technology anymore, is it? It's about finance.
Absolutely.
I mean, the cloud promises this revolutionary speed, infinite scaling, but the reality is often, well, it's terrifyingly expensive unpredictability.
Yeah.
Cloud costs just spike without any warning, and suddenly the finance team is scrambling to figure out why they're being hit with a bill that looks like a phone number.
It's the cost of velocity, isn't it? Organizations, they prioritize speed, and in doing so, they sacrifice control. We see it everywhere.
It may be a loss of control.
It's the single most expensive habit in modern IT.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Our deep dive today is focused on solving that exact problem.
Yeah.
We are talking about fundamentally changing how cloud finance works by moving FinOps, that's financial operations, from reactive firefighting.
The review the bill after the fact model.
Exactly. Moving from that to proactive control using infrastructure as code, or IaC.
And the mission here for you listening is really to get the shortcut. It's about understanding how to embed financial governance directly into the cloud build process itself.
Right.
Because the painful truth is, just relying on dashboards and those after-the-fact reports, it simply isn't working anymore.
And the urgency of this shift is just undeniable when you look at the industry data. It gives us the perfect context for why this is a crisis, not just an annoyance.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at Flexera's 2025 State of the Cloud report. The data is stark. Companies openly admit they are wasting nearly 27% of their total cloud spend.
27%. That's almost a third of the budget, just gone. Inefficient noise.
And it gets worse.
Yeah.
Compounding that inefficiency, they're exceeding their stated cloud budgets by an average of 17%.
So wait, let me get this straight.
Yeah.
We have both systemic waste and constant budget overrun. You're paying 17% more than you even planned for.
Right.
And a quarter of what you did spend was just wasted anyway.
Exactly. And the reason we're trapped in this cycle is, I think, pretty clear. Financial decisions, the ones that govern whether we use a tiny database or a massive one, they're made after the infrastructure is already running.
Or by the developer in the moment, with no context.
Precisely. And this forces organizations into a perpetual state of reaction. It ensures prolonged wastage. We're just treating cost optimization like a tactical fire drill, never as a strategic planning phase.
So we really need to define the battlefield here. What are the common, costly mistakes that the cloud enables? I mean, the cloud didn't invent financial pitfalls.
No, not at all.
But it sure made them easier and faster to make, and they stack up so quickly.
We're basically operating without the proper guardrails.
Yeah.
And the most insidious part is that these mistakes are often, born of convenience.
Take the classic example, oversized virtual machines, VMs. An engineer quickly spins up an instance that is, 3 times bigger than the application needs.
Just to be safe.
Just to be safe. And that decision, made in 30 seconds, commits the company to months of unnecessary spending.
And then there's the storage issue. It's so easy to just click the highest tier of premium low latency storage, the absolute fastest option, when a standard, much, much cheaper storage tier would have been perfectly fine for, say, archival data or a dev environment.
That's pure, instant waste, and no one catches it until the bill arrives a month later.
Exactly.
And my personal favorite, the organizational chaos. Resources lacking proper ownership, or that critical correct tagging. We've all seen the ghost server, right?
Oh, yeah, the ghost server.
That one database nobody claims ownership of, just running silently in the corner, consuming cash for months, simply because no one has the accountability to turn it off.
And that accountability, it just evaporates when tagging is missing or it's inconsistent. And the final common mistake, which is just terrifying when you scale it, is auto-scaling services deployed with no upper limits.
Oh, that's a big one.
The cloud's whole promise is to respond to demand, but if the guardrails are missing, a sudden, unexpected traffic surge can instantly bankrupt a project.
So that cumulative effect, the oversized VM, the premium storage, the untagged database, that's why the CFO gets that anxiety spike every single month. It's a growing bill with no clear explanation or person accountable.
And here's the most critical insight, I think. Despite years of investing heavily in cost visualization, in dashboards, tagging policies, weekly reports, most enterprises are still failing. They fail to enforce governance at the critical juncture.
At the point where the decisions are actually made.
That's it.
What's fascinating here is that the missing link isn't the data. We have plenty of data.
We are swimming in data.
The missing link is the execution. We know what we wasted money on last month, but we still haven't found a way to stop the next developer from making the exact same mistake this morning.
Precisely. We have to embed that financial discipline directly into the cloud build process itself. If you allow infrastructure to be provisioned without those cost guardrails baked in, you will always be reactive. It's inevitable.
So if the data shows the problem is execution, we have to look upstream. We have to look at the moment the decision is actually made.
Huh.
And this is why that DevOps idea of shift left is, well, it's becoming a financial imperative.
Absolutely. Traditionally, shifting left meant catching technical defects or security vulnerabilities early,
Right.
because fixing them in production is exponentially more expensive and, frankly, more painful.
And that same principle, it applies perfectly to cloud costs. The earlier a financial decision is made or a cost-related mistake is flagged, the cheaper it is to fix.
Infinitely cheaper.
Rejecting a proposed configuration in a review stage costs $0. That same configuration running for 3 months, that could cost tens of thousands to unwind.
And this shift, it fundamentally alters the relationship between teams. For the engineering team, cost is no longer some afterthought handed down by finance.
No, it's a design constraint.
It becomes an inherent design constraint they have to build against. Their code needs to be correct, secure, and cost-optimized from the start.
And the ripple effect is just immense. The finance team, they finally gain predictable spending patterns. Those terrifying spikes just disappear because the spending floor and ceiling are defined up front.
And for business leaders, it provides the stability they crave. Cloud investments start to behave like planned operating expenditures, not these unwelcome, volatile surprises.
So they can plan confidently.
Exactly. Knowing that the environment won't suddenly just exceed its utility without warning.
So the conceptual shift is shift left. But how do we make that an operational reality at scale? This transitions us directly to the foundational tool that enables this control, infrastructure as code.
Right. IaC is the engine for effective governance. And while it was, initially viewed purely as a DevOps tool for speed, it has fundamentally evolved. It's the cornerstone for embedding financial rules and standards because it gives us the ability to treat policy as code.
Okay, let's talk about that mechanism. Because the real power isn't just the provisioning speed, it's the ability to enforce standards and cost expectations consistently across every single deployment.
That's the key. IaC allows us to codify the organization's financial discipline. Instead of hoping people follow documentation or, manually reviewing thousands of resources.
Which never works.
Never. We just define the required state, the approved VM sizes, the mandatory tagging scheme, the upper scaling limits, right there in the IaC files.
And that codified discipline is what finally turns the tide on runaway costs. Consistency leads to predictability.
And predictability is the foundation of financial control.
Exactly. When the infrastructure definition itself dictates the cost profile, all the guesswork is just eliminated.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's talk about the specific mechanics of enforcement. You mentioned codified discipline, but isn't the administrative burden of maintaining all those IaC cost policies, isn't that just replacing one form of toil, like manual reports, with another, which is code maintenance? How do we keep that governance layer lightweight?
That's a crucial question. And the governance layer must be lightweight and integrated. We're not talking about manual code reviews for cost.
Yeah.
We're talking about policy as code.
Okay. We use tools that read the IaC manifest, the proposed deployment, and automatically check it against predefined financial rules before the infrastructure is even created.
So the magic happens in the build pipeline. The developer checks in their code, and the pipeline instantly tells them something like, this configuration includes a resource that costs $1,500 more per month than the standard tier allows. Deployment rejected.
Precisely. Cost immediately becomes a formal part of the approval process, not an afterthought you find in a dashboard 30 days later. IaC manages the allowed VM sizes, it enforces those strict tagging rules, no resource goes live without the required ownership tag, and it pre-configures scaling limits automatically based on policy.
That's the difference, isn't it? It's the difference between visibility and enforcement. So when organizations truly embed this financial governance into their IaC practices, they start seeing these transformative business outcomes that go way beyond just simple dollar savings. What are the major themes here?
There are 5 major recurring themes we see among the leading organizations. First, and I think most importantly, is margin protection.
Okay.
By automatically reducing waste, they stabilize the cost of delivering their services. And that predictable cost basis makes their product margins much more resilient to cloud volatility.
And this discipline actually helps them move faster. That seems a little counterintuitive.
It does, but it leads directly to our second theme, faster delivery. Automated guardrails eliminate the manual financial review gate checks that often bottleneck deployment.
Ah, okay. The friction.
Think of the internal friction, waiting 48 hours for a VP to sign off on a new environment's cost projection. When the code is self-validating against policy, that whole cycle is eliminated. It drastically accelerates time to market.
So discipline streamlines you. That makes sense. And the third major outcome.
Reliable forecasting. When infrastructure definitions, the code move together with their cost projections, those forecasts become inherently accurate and actionable. Finance and product teams can stop guessing and start planning confidently.
Because their cloud spend is locked into version control.
Exactly. And the fourth benefit is all about risk mitigation, stronger compliance.
How so?
Compliance is just a natural outcome of policy as code. When policy enforcement is codified in IaC, it becomes inherently auditable, versioned, and entirely consistent. These are three attributes that manual, human-driven review processes simply cannot guarantee.
So it reduces operational and regulatory risk automatically.
Right.
And finally, we have to talk about the rising complexity of modern cloud services. I'm thinking particularly of the high-cost environments being driven by AI and machine learning.
And that brings us to the fifth theme: control over AI-driven volatility. AI and ML services are often the single biggest driver of cloud bill spikes.
No question.
IaC provides the structure to set explicit upper and lower bounds for those costly consumption-based resources. It ensures that your AI project scales efficiently, but doesn't, run away from you.
This all maps perfectly onto the FinOps maturity curve. We know the early years were all about visibility, the inform phase, just trying to get the data.
And the current industry focus, it remains largely on the optimize phase, right-sizing, reservation purchasing, trying to mop up the mess after the fact.
But the next frontier, the one that industry leaders are already moving into, is governance and operational excellence. It's making sure the mistakes never happen in the first place.
That's the key implication. As cloud environments, especially those driven by hyper-dynamic AI workloads, become more complex, only those who embed financial accountability directly into their build process will stay ahead.
It's an operational shift, not just a technical one.
It is, because it changes who is responsible for cost optimization.
So, for the enterprise leaders listening right now, how do they practically start this transition? How do you go from reactive firefighting to proactive control? You can't boil the ocean, so where should they focus their initial effort?
First, you have to examine where financial decisions are made today versus where they should be made. If your engineers make consumption decisions, but your finance team holds the accountability, those 2 points are disconnected. You have to close that gap.
And for the action items, we need low-friction, high-impact guardrails to start with, right?
Start small. Prioritize the easy wins that cause the most pain. Standardize a small, manageable set of IaC modules for your common services storage, compute databases. Don't try to codify every rule at once.
So tackle tagging first, maybe, since that provides instant accountability.
Exactly. Implement guardrails specifically for mandatory tagging and standardizing those VM and storage tiers. And then integrate simple cost checks directly into your existing deployment pipelines using those policy as code tools.
And that's it.
If you just focus on standardizing 10 critical service templates with 2 clear financial rules each, you can shift from reactive firefighting to proactive forecasting in a matter of weeks.
It sounds like the goal isn't buying a new tool. It's about instilling discipline in the build process itself. It's putting the brakes on before the car even leaves the garage.
Precisely. You're making the desired cost behavior the default enforced outcome.
So what does this all mean? The core conclusion of this deep dive is that true financial control in the cloud is achieved by codifying cost expectations and governance up front. That's proactive discipline, rather than auditing costs and reacting to waste afterward. That's just reactive management.
Yeah.
We have to make cost management a feature of the software delivery pipeline itself.
And by embedding that policy as code into your IaC, you transform FinOps from, a necessary evil into a predictable strategic advantage.
Thank you for joining us as we explored how infrastructure as code transforms financial operations.
And here's a final thought for you to consider, building on this idea of governance in code. If consistent, auditable, and versioned governance applied to cost leads to stronger margins and faster delivery, how might that same policy as code philosophy be applied to other areas of critical business risk?
Like security.
Like security standards or even verifiable sustainability goals. How do we make those issues part of the automated approval process rather than relying on slow manual gate checks? It's about codifying all forms of organizational discipline and pushing that accountability to the earliest possible point.